Welcome to the Twist News. I'm Erika Gray.
And I'm Don Pravda. Welcome.
Today we're going to talk about the LNet event in Paris that we attended on May the 8th to the 10th. That was an unbelievable event, Don, with LNet.
Absolutely. Officials from across the world, concerned folks, Christians and Jews attending this magnificent convention in Paris, and people expressing their concerns and, in fact, their joy about Israel and its future, and the coordination of Israel and its values to Europe.
Yes, and there were many high-profile diplomats at this event. We have a whole list of people, actually, that we've met and networked with. But also the symposiums, the speakers that were just unbelievable. It was information overload. And I learned a lot. How about you, Don?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And we are right on the precipice of one of the most dramatic times in all of history. And this was expressed. There's worry in Europe. There's obviously worry in Israel. And people are sharing their sensibilities. And, by the way, it's not all sour grapes. The success of Israel, startup nation, its effect on business, on Europe, its impact on America, and politics. We're only 2 years away from presidential election in America, only 1 year away from a very important happening. Who will be the next president of the European Union?
Yes, and we met quite a few people there. We've got an entire list. We met the directors of LNet, the co-founder and chairman, the CEO from France, the UK, the chief executive officer of LNet from Israel, the head of policy and communication, and the programs manager, the board manager, the vice president, the senior analyst. And I want to tell you, the job that they're doing is just incredible. They brought out French politicians. Bruno Le Maire made an appearance and made a speech, which is the French Minister of Finance and Economy. Right. He's in the news quite a bit. We had the former ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon. And then you spoke with Gideon.
I met personally with Gideon Sa'ar. Mr. Sa'ar obviously is not the prime minister. However, he is expressing a keen interest in one day, maybe he will be, or expresses very clearly to me that he's not out of the game and he will reinvent himself. So the people who have ambitions were there. And we did mention Mr. Danon.
Yes, and General Aloni.
Nimrod Aloni. And many others, many other keynote speakers.
We also met Edwin Schucker, who heads the Federation of Jews in the UK.
Absolutely.
We've got a selfie with Mr. Schucker, and Mr. Schucker happens to be a Babylonian Jew, someone who lived in Iraq and was forced out of Iraq at a time of persecution of the Jews in Iraq. And he is speaking on behalf of his citizenship there, preserving what is still there of the Jewish culture, which is a topic for another broadcast, is the contributions that are there because of the Babylonian captivity, which dates back 2,600 years, and the Jews that lived there, and that's another story. So we met Mr. Schucker.
Mr. Shukr, whose family was forced to leave Baghdad in the year 1971. Mr. Shukr.
That's good, Don. I didn't remember the
No.
year. That's amazing.
That's correct. When he was a young man, unlike a lot of us who perhaps have witnessed robberies or crime, Mr. Shukr has witnessed, as part of Jewish history, hangings in his community, executions, people taken away, and then more and more executions to the point they had to leave, they had no choice, and they abandoned, as Erika said earlier, 2,600 years of history. And this is where he comes in. He does not want that legacy to be erased. Of course, Mr. Shukr is grateful that they are still alive. They left for Israel and then later England, and he has returned to Iraq upon the new government being formed, and he actually owns a home in Baghdad in this time.
Yes, very, very interesting stuff. And we're going to be having Mr. Shukr on the show,
Right,
along with the head of the German Federation in Germany and some of these individuals that we have met and are mentioning to you today. But we met others. We met Peter and Wolfgang. And we will have, Peter's already been on the show. I did a piece because he has a group called Think, and they're at The Hague, and they deal with international law and Israel. They are working against this idea of a two-state solution. The two-state solution is dated, but they argue that it is not even in line with international law, and they're working to get this information of their research within the European Union institutions, and that we will be covering on this show. We've also met Mindy Stein, who heads the American Zionist movement. We'll be having Mindy on. She is a fireball of passion for Israel.
In the past, ran an organization known as Emunah, which had a mission of helping Jewish people all over the world, including with very, very serious critical problems. And she is a mother and grandmother with a lot to tell you.
And we met Dr. Levy, and we met Mrs. Levy, and she works for the French Ministry of Health. And her son is a grandson of Simone Weil. I almost said LaVey.
Right.
Simone Weil, who is celebrated hugely in the European Union Parliament. She was a parliamentarian. She is an iconic figure in the EU, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that in another video. And who else did we meet, Don? We met so many notables. We met an imam from Iran who we'll be having on the show. We met another Iranian who is a former ambassador to the United States, who also we will be having on the show. I mean,
I'd like to add a few words
Don.
about the imam. And by the way, the imam is from Iran. That might surprise you that an imam from Iran flew across the world to France to appear at this convention. I had a chance to speak with him, and he is emphatic that right now this discrimination and hatred continues on a group that I'm very aware about called the Baha'i. He is very, very aware of what this government is capable of doing, what its tensions are. Israel has to embrace, be ready. Iran does not have good news for a lot of the world. It is emphatically embracing terrorism, and stay tuned.
Absolutely. Stay tuned. And we also met the Katharina von Schönrubine, who is a delegate from the European Commission. She is the European Union's coordinator against anti-Semitism. She is a significant delegate, and she was there, and we got a selfie with her as well, and she also will be on the show. But I think what also stood out, Don, was the inroads that ELNet has made. ELNet formed in 2010, and we got to meet some of the board members who were instrumental in the formation of ELNet. But since its formation, it's made considerable strides within the various European Union member state governments in building not only relations, but providing them with proper information, because there's misinformation within the EU or within their policy making concerning the Palestinian-Israel issues. And they have opened certain delegates' eyes, and they continuously work towards improving trade relations and other relations. And so we got to be in the midst of that, meeting key people, David Siegel, former delegate, lots of delegates. This place was just swarming with delegates and key people and experts. It was just an incredible event, and you got to mingle and talk and exchange cards. And we spent 3 days and a gala and a cocktail hour and breakfast and lunch. And it was wonderful, Don. It was just wonderful.
Outstanding. But I think in the bigger picture, it's the sharing of ideas. It's also the sharing of happiness and concerns. All this thing during this convention. And there's real worry right now about the rising flow of anti-Semitism in Europe.
Yes, and we witnessed that, as I have stated, with the police presence. One other person that we also met that I'd like to highlight is Michael Oren. And you would have already come across in a previous video the interview with Michael Oren, who was the former ambassador from Israel to the United States.
Right.
So we got to meet him, selfies with Mr. Oren, as well as an interview, and also hope to have him back in the future. His book is now, or books actually, are now featured in...
Esteemed author.
Yes, now featured in our store. So this was wonderful, because what we want to do on this channel is kind of give you the behind the scenes. So we're talking very behind the scenes right now of this event, but also to provide you with better interviews. So we're attending, we're not only just calling on these experts, we're listening to them, we're talking to them behind the scenes so that we can provide you with better information. So now back to the anti-Semitism. Yes, Don, it's a great concern.
Well, there's also statistics about anti-Semitic incidents. It's growing from country to country. There's obvious concerns in France because the number of the Muslim community is very high. Not to say that everything is terrible with the Islamic community. There is relationships that are good. However, the media is the essential one. When you speak to people, Jewish people living in France, they are being hammered in newspapers and on television. And what is the central idea? That it's Israel. In the media in France, Israel is being called an apartheid state. Israel is being named racist. It's being named isolationist, wrong, when in fact
And on that topic, sorry,
Yeah.
but on that topic, Don, we also listened to Prima Sharvit Baruch from INSS. This is Israel's leading think tank. And she spoke along with another expert on international law and the apartheid nonsense. Miss Baruch was giving a talk at that session about her experience in actually dealing with the Palestinians right there in the front lines and coming out also with her expert suggestions in a resolution which would not involve a two-state side-by-side solution. And also, we listened to another expert on international affairs or international law talking about the misrepresentation of Israel, such as apartheid, and how this isn't even legal. So it was wonderful, Don, as far as the information. And you're right, the anti-Semitism, the almost propaganda. It isn't almost, it is propaganda. These are propaganda terms. You know, the UN resolution, the Geneva Convention article, all of these things that they're using or that these governments are using to say that Israel is in violation when Israel's not really in violation. And so this was explained. And again, it was just a wealth of information. So I'll let you continue. So sorry for interrupting.
If we can get back to our friend Edwin Shuker, formerly of Baghdad, and then more recently of Israel, and he lives as well in Dubai, and he has a very strong business presence in London. Most specifically, when he hears that Israel is an apartheid state, and he hears that Israel is being accused of ethnic cleansing, he is the person, as a witness, having been born and raised in an Arab country, and his family some were imprisoned, and he had to leave this country. Why were people being hanged in the Jewish community? Why did Mr. Shuker and his family have to leave? Because they were ethnically targeted as Jews. That is the reason. So he is adamantly telling you Israel is accepting people. They are not being hanged. People, Arabs can, in fact, in Israel have education, live freely. He did not have that choice. His group was forced to leave. Thankfully, there was an Israel to go to, but the bottom line was prison and execution among Jews in Iraq. And that is the similar outcome in other Arab countries for the Jewish people. And that is his message and the message from many others at the convention.
Yes, very good point. That was an excellent point. So anyway, this wraps up our LNet convention. Don, is there anything else you would like to talk about that extraordinary event? And
I'll just say it is an extraordinary experience for Erika and I to have been in 5 nations in Europe. And we have, in fact, in future shows, even more to tell you. This is not the finale.
Yes. And we will be in contact. We will be at an event again on Monday where actually David Siegel is going to be speaking from LNet. LNet will actually be represented by Siegel at this event. So we will be running into him as well as many other diplomats. So wait for our reporting from that event and also our review of the Jerusalem Post 2023 conference, the Jerusalem Post 2023 conference. Till next time, be sure to check out our Amazon store, check out our books, which is the books of our guests, and usually they're complete works that are geopolitical Also, be sure to subscribe to our channel and
thank you. And I say shalom, shalom, shalom.
stay tuned for more.